I want to be an army man.
Why?
Because I want to fight for the United States of America.
So, if you could change something to make things better in America or in Fort Wayne, what would you change to make things better?
Everybody will get treated. Everybody will get treated equally, and they always stay positive, and never be mean or have an attitude, and be good in school.
Good evening. I'm Eric Hackley, and this is Hackonomics. Today is a historic day. It marks the return of 5 years since I've been out of here, and so we're going to be focusing on topical issues like we always do. We got a lot to talk about here tonight. I've got three great guests who have a lot of things to share with you, and we want to go ahead and get started here. My first guest is Terry Lymon, retired Indiana State Trooper, State Police Officer.
Correct. Yes.
And, we want to talk a little bit about the proper etiquette between the police and especially black people. But before I go there, I want to touch on a young man's comment here at the opening here, because he expressed a lot of patriotism, doing the right thing, studying and all that kind of thing. To be a police officer, you had to kind of be the same way to an extent to where you had to have some type of real strong patriotism to lead you to the police force.
Well, yeah, definitely. And when you take the oath, of course, the oath tells you that you, of course, raise your right hand that you would fight, any enemy of America, foreign or domestic. And it takes a substantial amount of patriotism to affect that. But where police officers are concerned, one thing that I really want to say is your patriotism wanes when you're in a society where you see your own people, young black men, being shot down and unarmed by the individuals who are supposed to be the authorities and to enforce the law. You see them violating the law. So this, in turn, is good. Yes, you need the patriotism, but the patriotism wanes once this young man, for example, grows up and he starts to understand what's going on in his society. What happens to his patriotism? It will start to wane. He will no longer have the patriotism that he has, because if he's going to pledge his allegiance to America, America has to pledge their allegiance to him. So you can't go abroad and fight. It's just unorthodox, counterproductive to want to go abroad and fight for America, but then right here inside of America, you can't fight for what's right. You're treated as a substandard or a second-class citizen. So,
supposedly, we're here to make changes. The American dream and the American experiment, it's an experiment where theoretically people are supposed to be able to bring forth their insights and change the system or add to the system to make things better. Because when I was a kid, I was somewhat like that, and I received ridicule, for example, for wearing this tie, which is maybe historically a symbol of oppression, the red, white, and blue here. And for years I've been saying that I do that in hopes of making a difference to change the oppression that people were under, but it doesn't seem to be changing out here. Back to the police officers, do they view what's going on across America as isolated incidents, or do they know what's going on? Do they feel that people are just picking out, that they're being picky, And these things aren't really as bad as it seems. It's just that people are capturing these things and showing them at the same time, and it's like they look like people are getting killed every day, which they are.
Well, they know. Other officers see exactly what is going on, but they become captured. For example, and captured just in administrative law and in administration just simply means that you become so ensconced with what your administrator, your boss wants, that you abandon your ethics, morals, and things of this nature.
And what do you mean, quotas?
No, I'm talking about just what is right. The ethics and the morals of your own ethics and morals. You'll be more apt to do what your boss tells you to do, even though you know it may be unethical or immoral. You will do it just to satisfy him or propitiate him, as opposed to standing on your grounds of ethics and morals. These police officers, particularly a black police officer, we must be honest about it. To be a black police officer on a predominantly white force, it causes them they're being forced, so to speak, to take a side. And when a black officer opposes something that may be not right or against the law or unethical, then he gets singled out or pointed out. This happens, I'm not saying that it happens everywhere, but it happens in a whole lot of police agencies where the black officers are singled out, and they're not allowed to be themselves and to oppose the system. I myself found myself in the same situation and ended up in a legal battle that lasted 10 years. So I know exactly, and the exact same thing happened with me. But in my situation, I elected to stand and be a man and demanded to be respected as a man first, as a black man, then as a police officer.
Can you talk about that just a little bit?
About what occurred with me?
Yes.
Well, yeah, it's long, but just to give you the basics, I found myself making an arrest on an individual right here in the city of Fort Wayne downtown. And when I called the city police for backup, we met all down in the basement of the city-county building there, and I described myself, described the individual, which was a white male, in the situation. And once the guy refused to stop, he's just running all over. Of course, I was just followed him down into the basement of the county building. Of course, I was out of uniform. I get out, explain myself, identify myself, and the state police officer is never off duty. He's a 24-hour officer. And this guy was doing 80 miles an hour down Lake Street. So I called, I said, I think he's 1055. He may be on drugs or something. So you need to get an officer out here to get him stopped. Well, this guy went down into the basement of the county building. Once down there, I got out, identified myself. He refused to stay out there. He wanted to run into the building. He tried to run into the building. When he did, I grabbed him, and when the police pulled up, of course, he was a white male. They attacked me.
The police officers attacked you?
Yes, the two officers attacked me. And
making the assumption that
I was the violator, and the white gentleman was the
here
officer.
In Fort Wayne?
Yes, here in Fort Wayne. And that started a battle that lasted for 10 years. And so it subsequently ended up with my having to retire early after 25 years. Stayed on the department, but just retired after 25 years and walked off.
But now, once you identified yourself, I mean, once they saw your Indiana State Police ID,
right?
Why wasn't that enough right there by itself to call it a done deal? For
the gentleman that I was arresting?
Or for the police officers?
Well, they just wasn't listening to me tell them that I was a police officer. The question is the presumptive fact that they thought that the white gentleman was the trooper and I was the criminal. Why would you come in with that attitude from the beginning and not give it the benefit of the doubt to stop and find out which is the officer, which is the violator, and then proceed from there? But they they did not do that. So
now, you know, when you have a knee-jerk reaction like that, can training work on that, or is that just something that's just so embedded in people that it's just there?
you mean the assumptions that
Yes.
black men
Are guilty?
well, I'm sorry, it's just something that America is built on oppression, as slavery of African Americans, and it takes a lot to break that attitude. It's just not something that happens overnight. It takes time, and it takes studies. It takes two people, be it black and or white, to embrace and encounter each other and learn something about each other, as opposed to making assertions that are not factual or untrue.
Before we go any farther, this is a live call-in show, and if you have any questions that you want to ask Mr. Lymon about police conduct, feel free to call in. The number will be on the screen, and most blacks, don't have an ID, or state police ID. When you get pulled over, what do? I mean, besides being mannerable and polite, I mean, how far overboard must you go to ensure that you won't be shot? I mean, I don't think that here in Fort Wayne it's that excessive, but if you ever travel, you're going to have to know the etiquette, in other places. What do you do?
So you're asking what should the violator do when being stopped, or what is the protocol of the police officer?
Well, the violator, I mean, because a lot of times you can't start talking about your rights, because that might offend the officer. What do you do?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is one, you must be calm. You can't, and there must be an exchange. The officer is going to walk up to you, and you roll down your window. He's going to ask you, let's say hypothetically that you're stopped for speeding. The first thing he's going to ask you is that the reason that I'm stopping you, or tell you is the reason that I'm stopping you is because of your speed. Once he says that, then you could respond, well, I didn't know I was speeding, or I apologize, officer, or what. But and if he asks for your identification, your license, registration, of course, go ahead and submit to that. And the thing is being calm, not raising your voice, not being gesticulative, meaning doing all of this with your hands. Keep your hands where they can see you, right there on the steering wheel, because the officers there, when you walk up on a car, you just don't know what the person is. You don't know what his mental state is. So they must take every precaution, but to walk up to a vehicle with your gun drawn, no. To walk up to a vehicle and then pull the weapon and start shooting, no. I mean, no. What's going on today is just outrageous, and it's unheard of with some of the way the police officers are shooting these young men.
Now, when you approach your car, through your training, are you afraid? I mean, because I've heard a lot of police officers, white ones primarily, say that that they were afraid, that they were scared because the guy was big and black.
Well, let me say this first of all. When the officer takes the oath, and I'm going to try to stay on track here, but if I don't stop, when an officer is stopping someone, when he takes the oath, he raises his hand, he swears, of course, like I said, to defend America by foreign or domestic. You're also told in the police academy that, look, a time is going to come where you may have to take a person's life, and the time is going to come where you may have your life taken. If these things bother you, say it now and walk off. And when I was in the police academy in 1987, 30-something years ago, this is what we were told. And we had two people just after all of that training drop off and leave. But I say that to say this. If an officer is that afraid, if you are that afraid, you need to find another occupation. You need to get out of that line of work. Yes, of course, there's a probability that you walk up to any vehicle and you could be shot. Now, your training is supposed to keep that from happening, but it does still happen. But to go up and to assume just because this individual is black, just because he's big, or just because he looks like he eats nails, I have to watch him. I have to have my weapon drawn and be on him, and the minute he makes a move, shoot him. Just like what happened with, I think, Castile. This young man followed the proper protocol, did everything he was supposed to do. Officer, I have a weapon. I have a permit to carry this weapon. The officer says, okay, give me your license registration. And when he reached for his license registration, that officer shot him. Now, there is absolutely no way in the world that that officer should not be charged and put in prison, because that's nothing but premeditated murder.
Well, you know, in the time that we have remaining here, I want to touch on a couple other sensitive topics, because there's a lot going on here in Fort Wayne. For a while, somebody was getting shot and killed every day. So now, you know, when you start talking about what white officers are doing to blacks, then the subject of black-on-black crime pops up. Mm-hmm. You know, how do, you know, in a community where everybody knows each other and somebody got shot, no snitching code exists. How do we deal with that and yet solve the crime problems in that area? Okay, well, in my personal opinion and in my professional opinion, there is a problem in the black community with the authorities. The moral fiber of a community, of a city, is predicated on its rules and its laws. And the laws are not supposed to be subjected to one sect, one race, one culture. It's supposed to have a blanket authority. So when when the prosecutor's office tells you that the young man that was recently shot in the back, that it was a justified shooting, there's absolutely no way that you could shoot a person in the back and call it justified. That is a slap in the face to say that this young man who was shot in the back by this police officer, it was a justified shooting. That is just so wrong on so many fronts. It is so wrong. So, in 60 seconds, you know, what can be done, you know, in areas where there's a lot of shootings going on? How can the residents come together and squelch all that out? Well, the reason you have is nobody's speaking. No one's speaking in the black community, because everyone in the black community, be they old or young, is observing the behaviors of the police officers. When they observe these behaviors of the police officers, it makes them not want to communicate with them. I can remember back when I was a youngster, the officers knew the people's names in the neighborhood. If a guy was walking drunk, he'd see to him getting home, or talk with them, or knew the kids, or come in your yard and sit and drink a cup of coffee. You don't have that anymore. They do not trust the police officers. Now, what needs to be done is, I believe that some type of the police department need to get back into the community and knock on every door and make themselves known, build some type of communication with the black community. Because if you knock on every single door, no one could be singled out for snitching unless you're going to blow up the whole neighborhood. So that is the way to combat that is you establish a relationship in the black community. The relationship of the black community and the police department here right now is distrustful. But it's not only here, it's all over this country. No one trusts them because of the things that are going on, and then the officers are walking with no type of charges or anything like that. And then when they shot this young man in the back like that, what do you go tell these young men that are out here shooting and stabbing? What do you say? They're saying, okay, they're acting like a gang and we have a gang, okay. They're seeing the police department as a gang. Because sometimes that's how police departments act. And furthermore, when this gang unit, the gentleman that did the shooting, he was questionable as to whether or not he should have even been on that task force, because he had so many violations previously. He probably shouldn't have been there. But I think the way to change that is to get back into the community. The officers have to establish a relationship. Stop arresting everybody you see. Stop arresting all of the public intoxicant. We have so many much bigger, serious problems than to be beating up some drunk and taking him to jail. I mean, there's other ways to do it. Officers have what's known as discretion. Use it. Because I certainly did when I was out there on the road. And if anyone that knows me, they know how I handled things dealing with the community. You know, as we're winding down here, get that next clip ready to go here. And last thing here, are you optimistic that the police departments and the communities that they're serving will come together? Because this just can't keep going on like it is.
Yeah, I am. It can, because believe it or not, there are some good police officers out there that are objective and know what the Fourth Amendment is, what it means, knows what the Fifth Amendment means, knows what the 14th Amendment means, knows what the First Amendment means, and they do not violate them. If they stop you, they use proper probable cause. I believe, yes, it can be, because there's just a few. It's a few that are out there in every city that think they answer or represent the other police departments when they conduct themselves. Just as the individual officers, in my personal opinion, I represented one of the best departments in the country. The Indiana State Police is one of the best departments in the country, but there were certain people that were on that department in authoritative positions that thought they were acting in the capacity of the police department, but they were not. So yes, as to your question, yes, I do believe that it can be stopped. I do believe that a relationship can be established, but there have the officers, the approach that they're taking is all wrong. And when they do, and as we were talking about a little earlier, when things are done about what's going on in the community, some officers establish probable cause as they go. First, they see your black face, then they stop you. Then if they find something, that's their probable cause, which is counterproductive and backwards. You establish your probable cause before you make the stop. You don't establish it as you go. And then, of course, then there's the fruits of a poisonous tree that says that the exclusionary rule, if you find something in the event of an improper stop, then it's inadmissible in court. But you have to prove that you were improperly stopped. And the officers some of them will lie and say anything to get that information admitted so that you can get convicted. But there are a lot of good police officers, I want to say that, and a lot of them have the best interests of the community at heart. But what I also believe is that more black officers from the community need to be policing the black community. Statistics show that when black police officers in a community that are from the community, now I emphasize from the community because you bring blacks from other communities and bring them back in, they're going to be more apt to be captured by the administration, captured by their partners, captured by whoever they're working with, and is going to be more violative of the rights of a black man than a white officer would, just to show that he's all right, he's okay. So, we put black officers that are from the community in the community. Test, exact statistics, case studies, research shows and proves. As a matter of fact, I'm doing a master's thesis on one now, that when officers, black, that are from a community, are put in the community, the things like drive shootings, crime rates go down. This outrageous thing we're having now where officers are shooting unarmed black men, and then their main excuse is, I was afraid for your life. A lot of that stuff stopped.
Okay.
A lot of it.
Well, Terry, thank you very much for the insights here.
You're very welcome.
We appreciate that, because I think that we got to have more dialogue like this, because I've noticed that over the years that people will keep going in circles. The issues happen, they say the same thing year after year after year, to the point that all you need to do is put it in a cassette tape and just sit there and just wait, because the same things are being said. But I appreciate your commentary.